On this call, this September 2014 Drought Monitoring Work Group. This is Dave Dubois down in Las Cruces, and we're going to go around the call. And please introduce yourself, and then we'll get started.
Raymond with a Bureau Reclamation.
Curtis McFadden, Army Corps of Engineers. It's been a wonderful week.
This is Greg Story from the National Weather Service West Gulf River Forecast Center in Fort Worth.
Hi, David. This is Victor Murphy, Weather Service Southern Region Headquarters in Fort Worth also.
Wayne Sleep with NRCS.
Les Owen, New Mexico Department of Agriculture.
This is Ryan Ward from New Mexico Department of Agriculture.
Mary Yule, BLM.
Office of the State Engineer, Ken Richard, Julie Valdez, and Molly Magnuson.
Richard Heim, NOAA National Climatic Data Center, this week's U.S. Drought Monitor author, and I'm looking forward to hearing how the reservoirs are doing.
All right. Anybody else?
Chuck Jones here at the Weather Service office, along with Kerry Jones, the WCM, and John Fleck, the John Fleck from the Albuquerque Journal.
Well, great, wonderful. Welcome, everyone. We're going to get started, and I think Chuck has the drought status, National Weather Service, up on the screen. If you don't see that, let us know. Looks like it's working. Okay, so go ahead, Chuck, and
all right. Hooray, hooray. I didn't get yesterday's precip totals in here, but this is precipitation from September 1 through the 21st. Obviously, southern tier counties have done very well, on the order of anything from 3 to 6 inches, and some higher areas of 8, and even up to 10 inches. If you saw there on the Cocoa Raws, there were a couple of sites that had 10 plus inches, and then quite a few that had 7, 8, 9 inches. So very wet across the south. The upper left is the actual precip amounts, and then the lower right is the average, or the percent of normal precipitation. Obviously 400 plus inches, 400 plus inches down across all of southern New Mexico.
400%.
Pardon?
400%.
400 or more, yeah. Unfortunately, not nearly that well, obviously across the northwest third or so, but we'll get more into that as we go along here. Looking back to August, well, it wasn't as good as July, but it did end up with an average statewide precip a little over 2 inches, a third below normal, with a statewide average of 87%. And obviously the best areas, east slopes of Central Mountains and portions of the East Central Plains, and then hit and miss type precip out here in the mountains to the northwest and west. And just to put this in perspective, over the last 100 plus years, not too bad. Again, 87% of normal statewide. If we break it down by climate zone, or 8 climate zones, you can see how things worked out. Obviously, Climate Division 4 and 6, which are West Central and East Central areas, did the best. And forest areas, unfortunately, it looks like up here in the northern mountains didn't do very well, as well as Climate Division 7 down here across the southeast plain. And then, so just looking at June through August, we're getting through a good portion of the monsoon season, but not all of it. 99% of normal. So that's certainly better than previous years. And we'll see how September turns out. It'll be interesting to see if we end up how far near or above normal we end up, because it's good, well above in the south and well below in other parts of the state. So, but you know, I suspect when we add September into here, we'll still be pretty close to normal for the monsoon season. If we back up to January through August, not quite the rosy picture. 28th driest on record, 8 inches there average, but that's almost 1 3/4 below what we should be for the first 8 months of the year. And putting that in perspective, since the late 1800s, 82% of normal, statewide average. So you can see it's certainly better than some of the previous years. 2011 and 12, very poor. And now to the water year, which is almost done. Again, not the greatest picture painted here. Pretty dry, 22nd driest on record, and good 2.5 inches below what we should be for the water year across the state. Best areas ending up here in the northern mountains, east slope areas, and then a little bit here in the center of the state. Putting that in perspective, just looking a little bit worse, 79% statewide average for the water year. If we back up just a little bit, add in the 12 months from September 13 through August 2014, of course, we're real close to average, and that's again thanks to that September last year, near record rainfall that we had. Just 1100ths below normal. But again, we're going to start to see a sharp drop as we go into the longer term drought. Two-year consecutive precip totals, 23rd driest on record, almost 4 inches below normal, works out to 86% of normal. 36 months, now we're the 12th driest, getting close to 7 inches below normal, 84% statewide. 4th driest in 4 years, and 8th driest if we talk about the previous consecutive 60 months. So again, as I've done in previous months, I emphasize the short-term drought, yes, it's improving. It's improved significantly in some areas. But when we start talking about more than a year or so, we're still in a significant long-term drought. So whenever we do interviews and talk to the press here, we try to emphasize that. Drought status, though, as of the last one came out last Thursday, 69% still in some form of drought, and 39% of that is severe to extreme drought, with 31% either abnormally dry or no drought. And so officially, 31% is not in any drought category. And if we look at what it was 3 months ago, yes, obviously we've had really good improvement virtually everywhere except one up here in the far northwest. And a little bit of the southeast down here has held steady. So, but otherwise, 1, 2 category improvements, even 3 in some areas, just in the last 3 months, i.e. the monsoon season. So that's a look at what's been happening and currently happening. Let's look at our little 3-month loop here again that I updated. It's showing the weekly sea surface temperatures on top and the anomalies on the bottom. And we're looking specifically kind of in this area right here. And I know in the last 2 months we were concerned. It looked like it was actually cooling, but now it's warming again. And we can see that the anomalies here are starting to reach that half degree level. So It's certainly encouraging news, looking at what's been happening here, especially over the last month or so. And you can see that here as well in the Nino 3.4 region. Much of July was a little bit scary here with the anomalies actually becoming negative briefly, but since most of August and through much of September, we're again rebounding and temperatures are warming. And they're above normal, right at a half degree now. The Nino 3.4 region right here. And we're still looking at anywhere from 60-65% chance of El Nino developing during this fall or winter. And the models continue to be very adamant that we're looking at anything from a neutral to a weak El Nino for a majority of the models through the winter and into next spring. So the outlook for October, very favorable. Odds favoring above normal precipitation across the state, and that's especially true for the western third of New Mexico. Meanwhile, we don't see this very often. Temperatures actually are favored to be below normal versus being normal or above normal. If we expand that 3 months, we go October through December, so we'll be getting in through the fall season towards the start of winter. Again, very encouraging. Odds favoring above normal precipitation over all of New Mexico, and especially true for at least 3/4 of it here, central and southern areas. Now we'll look at winter, December through February. Same thing. Odds are favoring above normal precipitation for all of New Mexico, and fairly significantly so. So certainly looking encouraging as we go through the fall and the winter. And seasonally, again, we're showing drought being removed or drought improving in many areas. And this is forecast through the end of the year. So, you know, overall, yeah, short term things are looking very encouraging. Not so yet in the long-term drought. Bottom line is it's going to take a long time to get rid of the long-term drought, get our reservoirs filled up again, and get the soil to moisten up as well. And we'll probably talk more about that as we talk to the other speakers here. Any questions?
Any last questions for Chuck?
Thought everybody was asleep.
All right.
How do you see this other one coming in? Isn't there something coming in from the Baja or this weekend?
Not any kind of tropical system. I don't think it's going to be impacting us. There's a very strong Pacific storm that will move into the Pacific Northwest later in the week, and it could impact us this weekend, but unfortunately the trends have been for that storm to go farther north, and most of its precip as well. The northern half or northwest half or northwest third of the state will get some precipitation Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but the rest of the state actually might end up being fairly dry during that time, with warmer temperatures and some breezes starting to actually pick up by the weekend.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, thanks, Chuck. And I think we'll move on to Raymond at the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation report.
Okay. I'll just read some storages. I'll start on the Rio Grande at Futuro. 12,342 acre feet. Heron, 72,127 acre feet. Alvaro, 27,191. Abiquiu, 129,014. Cochiti, 48,086. Elephant Butte, 164, 115, and Caballo, 28, 350. The district is off of their stored water. They're just running off of the run of the river, so they made it actually further than we anticipated, thanks to a lot of the monsoonal rains. These last few storms, they've helped some, but mostly further south, like south of Santa Casia. But right now, they're just tapering off for the rest of the season. They'll be just running off of whatever the natural is, and ourselves will be just trying to maintain 100 CFS at the central bridge for the fish. And on the Pecos, Santa Rosa 72,106, Sumner 36,786, Brandley is 63,733, and Avalon 5294. So there we've had, like I said, we've got a lot of excitement the last few days. I'm not sure you saw where a lot of 7 to 8 inches of rain, some incredible flows. They're thinking possibly 50,000 CFS in some areas, like near Dark Canyon. So they're going to try to get in there and try to verify. Some gauges are showing 80,000, but they're thinking more like 50,000. So yeah, there's a lot of excitement going on down there, a lot of flooding. We have a little over some 20,000 acre feet in flood storage at Brandley. That we might have to hold on to a little bit. They're afraid of they're trying to get some work done in Red Bluff, and they had a lot of water come down on top of them there. So, anyways, yeah, a lot of excitement. But that's pretty much what we got in the Brandley. It was 20,000 that were in flood storage. The bulk of the water, though, was below that. So, that's basically what I have, unless, Curtis, you have anything about the flooding in the water?
This is Richard. If I may interrupt, you reported a lot on the actual amount of water going into the reservoirs. How does that compare to average? How does that compare to capacity? And could you give me put those numbers into some kind of context, please?
As far as which basin, Rio Grande or Pecos?
Both of them.
Rio Grande, it's going to take like Chuck said, it's going to take years to get out of that. I mean, the drought, these are just nice little shots in the arm. We need some good snowpacks back to back to really get some storage going. Like, for instance, we can't store northern reservoirs in the Rio Grande until we get Elephant Butte above 400,000 acre feet. So we need to get to about 240,000 acre feet into Elephant Butte before we can even try to fill the northern reservoirs. They're well way below capacity right now. A lot of 27,000 acre feet, full is 180,000. So we're 160,000 below where we to be full. So no, it's going to take good wet years back to back to get out of get these reservoirs back in shape. Whereas the Pecos, we did well. We had that huge event last September, which put a lot of water into Santa Rosa and Sumner, and now of course Brandley's full and it's over full. I mean, we're safe. I mean, but there's not a problem there. But so on the Pecos, though, we're in a lot better shape. Basically, the reservoirs are full, so we're in good shape there. But the Rio Grande is going to take a lot to get us out.
Yeah, in the Rio Grande, you definitely have to have multiple good snowpacks to fill those reservoirs, especially the southern mountains, because majority of that water will come from the southern mountains and fill Elephant Butte, and that's the key. And Ray hit it right off right out of the park, basically saying Elephant Butte needs to store more water. And then on the Pecos, go ahead.
You can go to 2 million acre feet to fill Elephant Butte. 2 million acre feet, that's when we fill. And but it's 164,000 right now.
And then on the Pecos, we have allocated storages for all those reservoirs. And they're fairly close to being full. Santa Rosa is one that is not as quite as full as Sumner and Brantley, but that's just due because of irrigation and how the storms hit the southern part of the state and compared to the northern part of New Mexico. But that's based off of compact. And the reason why we're storing at Brantley right now is Red Bluff is spilling in Texas. And because of that, we're allowed to store at Santa Rosa and Brantley, and it's called floodwaters operations for the compact. Currently, right now, they're releasing about 7,000, and it's predicted to go up to 15,000 CFS because of the spillway. But that's due if they have any additional rains for today. So it's a concern in Texas right now. They got hit hard with this Odile remnants and as well as Polo moisture that combined with that system.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wish I had better news for you, but like I said, it's going to take. Say last time in the 70s they got this low, and then they got way in debt to Texas and the whole bit, and it took those banner years in the early 80s and mid 80s to get us out of that situation, and those were like banner years, and they were like 5 or 6 of them just back to back, where they were all 180 to 200,000% of normal snowpacks. And that's when we filled Elephant Butte. New Mexico got out of debt, and all the reservoirs were full. But those were all several years back to back. So, yeah, like you said, the drought's not over.
How much did Elephant Butte go up in the last week? Did they catch any of this good rain?
They're getting some. Yeah, they're getting some. Yeah, they actually are. It showed just a gain, just like last night. They gained 2,500 acre feet the last 24-hour period. So they're catching some. Like I said, a lot of this is coming in the Socorro and the Santa Casia, San Marcel area. So yeah, a lot of that's going in there. But the big reservoir.
Yeah, I'll check that out.
I'm sorry?
I'll give you that number. I'm going to be checking it out right now.
Okay, cool. Yeah, like I said, just the last 24-hour period was 2,500 acre feet. So.
Yeah, go along with the conference call. I'll give you that number of how much they stored since that Odile went through. So if you guys can continue on, it's going to take me a little while.
Questions or?
I'm sorry?
Oh, I was just asking anyone else if they had any questions. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Rain. A lot of good news. Let's go over to NRCS with Wayne Sleep. I think Chuck, did you get his PDF? I think he sent it.
It's okay if you don't put the PDF up. It was just the weekly summary report, the West-wide report. Just looking at the New Mexico sites, or the New Mexico basin, some of them are Colorado sites, for the month of October, honestly, most of the really good moisture that's kind of hit the state has missed the higher elevations. Even the southern basins, the Mimbres month to date is only 129% of normal. The Gila is about 167. San Francisco is about 170. and the Rio Hondo was a little better. It's about 258% for the month of September so far. Other basins are actually hanging in a little below average. Some of them pretty significantly below average as you come north. So these storms have helped those southern basins some, but the northern basins are not seeing near the impact. And when we look at the year-to-date precipitation for the water year, going back to October 1st of last year to current, most basins are still in the kind of 60 to 80% of normal. The lack of snowpack and the dry spring just really have killed the year-to-date. And the high elevations, again, just haven't seemed to pick up on this good precipitation that's hit some of the lower elevation areas of the state. So things are hanging in there, but it's not looking as good as you would hope. It's set up somewhat for going into the snow season, but we could sure use some more good rains, especially in the northern part of the state, before snow starts falling, to kind of build that soil moisture profile and get things set for snow to start falling. Otherwise, I guess that's kind of just what I wanted to touch on.
This is Curtis McFadden. I'm just going to give you an update on the Elephant Butte from the last storm system that hit that area. It picked up about 7,500 acre-feet of water, and that's within this past week.
All right, great, thanks. So any questions for Wayne about our upper elevation conditions?
Wayne, this is John Fleck. So I infer from what you said that the soil moisture going into the season is still low, the soil moisture in the shallow aquifers. Is that right? Could you elaborate a little more?
Yeah, it seems like, especially in the northern basins, the soil profile is still fairly dry. We got some rainfall up there, and last month was okay, but we just haven't seen real good, infiltrating rains, especially the northern half of the state. So we could sure use some additional rainfall here in the next month or so before snow actually starts falling to kind of build that up. Otherwise, we'll kind of see the same problem we've had the last few years, where any snowpack that does build up, we're going to lose a portion of that to infiltration before we ever get any runoff started next spring. So hopefully we're not out of the rain yet.
All right. Very good. Well, thanks again, Wayne. Appreciate it.
Thank you, and I'll work on... I was having problems getting this report to come up as a text file this morning, so I could send it out. I'll see if I can't get it to pull together and send it out to the group here in a little bit.
Excellent. Thank you. Alrighty. Next on agenda, I didn't hear if Anne Marie was on the call from USGS. Are you on? I didn't think so. Okay. Well, next on the agenda is Office of the State Engineer, and I think we have Julie, Ken, and Molly on. I'm not sure who's going to present.
Molly is. So we have our regular presentation of reservoir levels. This might help. It was Richard, right, with the drought monitor?
Yes, Richard.
A little bit.
Yeah, Molly, we're having trouble hearing you.
Okay, I moved closer to the phone. Is that better?
Much better.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's our standard presentation based on data from yesterday that we gathered to put our slides together. It's our usual legend that's going to show current storage, last year, and then average. Uh-oh. There we go. Our screen went blank, but we're back. So Navajo is pretty close to what it was in last month. It looks like it's gone down a little bit as far as the current amount. Butte is pretty close to the same level that it was last month, with the I guess it's much closer to the last year's number. Santa Rosa is the same. It looks pretty similar to last month again. Yeah, and I could say the same thing about Sumner. It's pretty close to the same level that it was last month at the call. But there we see a different number. Brantley looks higher, and the what? Oh, the scales aren't the same. So the September number is closer to the 60,000 acre feet, while the August one is closer to 40, just due to the scale on the graph. So there's Heron, which looks a little bit, yeah, it's about the same as it was last month. It's a little bit, the average is, closer to the storage that we have in there right now. I mean, the last year, sorry. Elvado, no, that's lower than it was last month. Still a long way from average. And there's Abiquiu, very similar to last month again. And Elephant Butte, again, a long way from average. And Caballo is above last year at this time, but same broken record, a long way from average, and we do have different scales on those two graphs. Anybody have any questions?
I do have a thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you, Molly, again.
Uh-huh.
All right. Any questions for Molly before we move on to NMDA? All right. Okay. Les and Ryan, I think you sent out the report earlier. Yeah, good. Thanks, Chuck.
Yeah, the New Mexico crop progress report doesn't have a whole lot there. Obviously, the short-term conditions have improved, drastically compared to last year over much of the state. There's still the northwest corner, and kind of down the western side of the state, the rangeland conditions really just aren't, as improved as the rest of the state based on the precipitation, and that's represented in the range and pasture condition table, as you can see there. With the massive amounts of precipitation, of course, there's problems associated with that. There's anybody that had a hay crop laying down that had been cut when the moisture comes, they've pretty much lost that. green chili harvest is almost done, but anybody that hadn't been able to, complete it with the wetness of the fields, they haven't been able to get out there and complete their harvest. So that has impacted that somewhat. The excessive moisture will, the chili fields that are still ongoing will probably see some wilt damage and reduce the yields, and that, the same thing with cotton fields. Cotton rust can be a potential issue with prolonged moisture in the fields. There have been no real quantified reports of losses due to flooding in ag fields, but just anecdotally, there has been mention of that down in Eddy County, as well as damage to irrigation infrastructure, ditches, and whatnot. Also, the burn scar areas around the state that have received a lot of precipitation have had debris flows and amounts of flooding and erosion and things like that. But that's, unless anybody has any questions, that's pretty much it. Cool. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Les. All righty. I didn't hear either Emelita or Joy Lynn. I think she emailed before the call, but I don't think she's on.
Yeah, she said she wouldn't be able to be on again this week. She apologizes.
All right, no problems here. Okay, so I wanted to, Chuck, did you get that that little graphic thing? I just and mainly just the first slide, just kind of bring up our discussion on the current draft for the drought monitor, and this is the one from last night. I don't think it changed since then for New Mexico, and I personally
I did not make any changes to New Mexico since this one.
Okay, thanks, Richard. So I agree with to go to DNADA. I was going to propose that, and also the one category improvement through the extreme southwest and Luna and Doniana County. And I think the one other little change that was in was a slight expansion of the D3 in San Juan, a little bit going into Rio Riba and the tad corner of Sandoval, because since they've been really missing out on all these storms, and I think it's and that matches what is on the Arizona side as well. I think. I haven't heard from I haven't seen what the Arizona crew was proposing on Apache County. Do you know, Richard?
I got an email from Nancy, and I think Mark is his name, saying that they wanted status quo for, I think, southwest Arizona and central Arizona, but I haven't heard from the other folks. Mark and Nancy. Southwest and central Arizona were status quo. The other parts of the state I have not seen emails from yet.
Okay.
I think one of them did say that they were happy about the changes in the southeast Arizona.
Yeah, I was down there a couple days ago by Rodeo near Portal, and it's looking really, really well. But that's just short term. They had a 4.5 incher on one day, and we were getting more Kokoraz observers down there. But yeah, I think that's on the D1 area. But yeah, I think I just pulled up ACES for Farmington. They're about an inch more than about an inch behind since July. So yeah, I think I think that's good just to keep the three. Is any other comments on the southeast corner? And I think we jive with Texas on that one. both in the HUD space and El Paso.
Yeah, I participated in the Texas call, and they seem to be consistent with the changes they made in New Mexico.
Great.
I did have a couple questions. I was very aggressive in showing improvement in southern New Mexico this week, and I'm wondering, was I over-aggressive? For example, that 2CAD improvement in Otero County right there, and the improvement I made in Socorro County, do you think those improvements are justified, or should I keep some D1 in those areas?
I definitely agree with the southeast. I think with the basins have a smaller volume, and those get easier. Basically, from the 2013 and this event, filling those up and then going all the way down to the Texas reservoirs. I think that's fine. I'm still a little cautious. I'm always cautious in the Rio Grande Valley because that's basically saying they're essentially out of drought when it's just a drier. But I don't think I would, because that was kind of the thoughts that we had with Dave Simmerall when we were discussing this, is keeping most of the D1. I think potentially even through Socorro County. What are your thoughts on this, Chuck? Or I didn't see anybody from the El Paso office on the call.
I tend to agree with you, Dave. I'd be a little less aggressive in the Rio Grande Valley. Probably removing some of this D0 area here, and probably leaving a little bit of D1 in through here.
So, do we want to keep Do we want to keep that area of D1 through Socorro?
Yeah, I probably would.
Yeah, that's what I was. My gut feeling is to keep that there because of the long term. Even though the range conditions
certainly would
are
upstream
doing well.
from Elephant Butte.
Yeah, because it's really they hadn't had the. I mean, they have. I was looking at Los Lunas, and they had. I didn't look at the last day, but I didn't have time. Did Carrie or Chuck? Did you go look at what was going on in like Los Lunas?
Last night.
Well, they had big rains west of Los Lunas and Belen last night. They actually were not in the town, but a few inches there fell.
2 to 3.
2 to 3 inches. So, but it didn't show up on the Rio Perco. Interestingly, it did show up on the Rio Grande. There was a foot rise at San Acacia and 2 feet at San Marcel, I think. So. And that got into Elephant Butte a little bit, I guess.
Yeah. But I'm still think we should still keep that D1 through there, at least through Socorro.
Yeah, I'm thinking that I'll put the D1 back in.
Yeah.
Connecting Valencia to Dona Ana County, so D1 across Socorro.
Yeah.
And I think I'd also put it back in through Sierra County as well.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and connect it through, because that makes sense. They give that continuity through there, because that's the impact area, is all the way through. And even with this, we only, I think, was it Curtis said we got 7,500, or was that Greg?
That was me. I'm sorry. It was about 7,500 acre feet from last week's storm.
Yeah. And I think even with was it from last year? It was like 20,000. I forget, what was it? What was I forget the number now. From the September 2013. That went into Elephant Butte, just as a reference.
I can check up on that one right quick. Just give me a little bit. Give me some time.
Yeah. Just to put things in perspective.
Earlier?
Almost 200,000 acre feet.
200. I was off by a factor of 10. Yeah, 200. So yeah, this was a much smaller event in terms of impacting the water supply area.
Oh yeah, it takes a lot of rain in.
Yeah. So yeah, let's keep that one in, the D1 in.
Yeah, and also, considering the 3-4 year drought, low precipitation conditions for virtually the entire state, the more I think about it, the less comfortable I am about that 2-category improvement over Otero County. I'm thinking
Otero.
about putting, about joining that D1 dot to the southwest D1, and having it just be a 1-cat improvement.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. Let's do that. I agree with that.
Okay.
I did too.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Let's take a look and see how much rain actually falls this week, see if any changes need to be made next week.
You do have to be careful, though, in southwest Chavez County. It's radar coverage down there is pretty poor. And there's only a couple of gauges that we can get much from.
Yeah, let's see. Is that the I think the Pinion Regional Climate Reference Network station, is that? I wonder if that's in southwest Chavez, or is that still in Otero? That may be still in, that may be in Otero.
That's Otero.
Yeah. I need to recruit some cocoa rods in that area.
Please.
Yes, we're working on it. Okay. Any other last comments on the drought monitor suggestions, since we have Richard on his attention here?
Hey, David, this is Victor.
Yes.
Any thoughts? I just sent you an email about 25 minutes ago. I thought that initial draft looked really good myself, although, you're probably right. I guess 2-category improvements, considering the long-term drought's a little bit too much. But my concern is northwest part of the state. I was going to propose, it's in the email I sent to you and Richard, to propose to expand the D3 in the northwest part of the state eastward by about half a county and southward to cover all of McKinley County. I just looked up Gallup's precip so far this year. It's the driest year on record, year to date.
Okay.
Like 3.9 inches, something like that.
Okay, I'm looking.
There's been winners and losers so far in this deluge. I think the northwest part of the state has definitely not been a winner.
All right. Let me pull that up too. Let me just see.
Elephant Butte last year, September, gained about 73,000.
David, Gallup's had 3.99 so far. That's her driest year to date on record, going back to like 19. Which is pretty record there. I think it's like 1970 or so.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the airport one. I just pulled that one up. They really haven't much since.
It goes back to 73.
Yeah, and the airport really hasn't had any substantial rain. Well, they had a little bit recently, but then before that, it really hasn't had anything since the end of July. Just been couple hundreds. Sand and gravel.
Yeah, then a very dry August, only had like 0.69. About 30% of normal.
I'm heading over there next month to do some cocoa rods recruiting. There's not many stations here to look at.
Yeah, so far this monsoon, since July 1st, they've had, looks like 351.
Yeah. And
they should have about 4.8. So even during the monsoon, they're running about 60-70% of normal.
Yeah, and Window Rock has been really dry. They've been the same. So that justifies going all the way. I mean, that continuity's across the low parts below the Chuscas. Yeah, I think. Let me look at your email again. Yeah, let's look at that. You're suggesting a D3 down through Rio Reba, moving D3 south and through McKinley.
Yeah, like the western half of McKinley.
Yeah. I can go along with that.
Yep.
Okay. Thanks, Victor.
Yeah, no problem.
I can go ahead and make those changes in the Northwest.
Very good. Any more comments before we head off? All right. So Chuck and guys in the weather service, I'm looking at schedules. So we get your calendars out for next month.
Okay.
So in October, we want to have it after the 16th. That's the CPC updates. So if we want to do the following week, the 21st, if we want to do it on Tuesdays, does that still work for folks?
Could we do Monday, or is that bad for anybody?
Mondays don't work for the Office of the State Engineer.
Okay.
So is there a problem with at the Weather Service office on the Monday?
No problem. Day off.
Oh, day off. Oh, bummer.
That's okay. I'm the scheduler. I'll make it work.
Well, the Texas call is at 2 o'clock Central Time, so as long as it stays away from there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, we like to keep it on at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. So, okay. So if that'll work out for you, Chuck, maybe you can reschedule your day off or something. If we can hold our next call on October 21st at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. That's a Tuesday morning. Alrighty.
Sounds good.
Good.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Much appreciated.
Thank
and
you
we'll
all.
see you next
Thanks.
next
Bye.
month.
Bye.
So, Carrie, you still on?